Welcome to episode 109 of the Quick Time Event Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, and as always, I'm joined by my partner in crime, John.
Me.
Quick Time Event is a chance for John and I to get together
You almost did it.
And every week to talk about all of the nerdy things that we love. If you like what you hear, you can find us live on twitch.tv/CDR Magnus every Tuesday, maybe at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or on all of your favorite podcast services all across the internet shortly after the live show ends. I'm sorry, I'm very nervous.
Why?
Very nervous because
you're looking around the room and
yes.
I see Wario still up there, so I don't think you have anything to fear.
Well, hopefully. About like 3 minutes before we went live, I was just checking some stuff, making sure everything was running correctly, making sure that Adobe Audition was recording and, all the good stuff. And then I see out of the corner of my eye a little speck.
Mm-hmm.
The speck turned out to be like the size of my thumbnail, maybe. Spider. Black spider.
That's not a speck.
No. Well, out of the corner of my eye, it looked like speck. Turned out to be like a thumbnail-sized spider.
Ooh.
Crawl up my wall, sitting on my wall between two picture frames. I grab it
there right now.
I grab a tissue. No, I grab a tissue to go and kill it.
It's gone.
As I go to kill it, it scurries underneath the picture frame. At that point, it's a big poster picture frame, by the way. But basically, what's behind John on the wall, the Pokemon, maybe a little bit smaller than the Pokemon poster he has behind him. If you're watching the video podcast, but I take that poster off the wall, I put it on the ground. No spider. The spider's gone. I have no idea where the spider went. It could literally be anywhere. If you at any point during the podcast see me go, oh shit, and like move, it's because the spider is on me, or I see the spider and I want to take care of it.
You don't want to take care of it. You're not going to nurse it to health. You're not going to release it outside.
I'm gonna take care of it. Wink, wink.
You're gonna do what they did in Persona 5 with the cleaner, except you're not that gullible.
Yeah. Is there any worse feeling than when you see an insect and you want to get? Well, I guess spider's not an insect, but you see a pest, a nuisance in your house, and you want to get rid of it, and then it's just gone, and you have no idea what to do.
And spiders hold a special fear for most people.
Yeah.
You see an ant, you're not afraid, you're annoyed.
No.
You see a spider, you're like, oh, I might die.
Yeah, last year in the summer, it was our first summer in the house, and we found just a fuck ton of ants in our kitchen one day. And we found where they were coming from, and we killed them with vengeance. But when I saw it, I wasn't grossed out. I wasn't like, oh no, get out of here. I'm like, fuck you. Fuck all your entire fucking colony.
This
burned
was
to
a
the
war.
ground. Yeah, exactly.
You were playing Halo, whereas now you're playing Senua.
Yes. Maybe I'm playing I don't know, Resident Evil or something.
Maybe.
Yeah. So
that would make Resident Evil 4, because you can't do multiple things at once. You can either walk or shoot.
Right. I can either podcast or I can kill the spider. Those are my options. So
if at some point you stop, then you've ceased the podcast, you've stopped the one action, and now you're aiming.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, video games.
I hate it.
Yeah,
I don't know where the fucking thing went.
That either.
Okay. Well, we're going to carry on as best we can, I suppose.
We're all safe, except for Josh.
Do anything fun last week? Last 5 days since we talked?
I did. I think I briefly mentioned it at the very end of the podcast, but this past weekend was Pokemon Go Fest.
Yes. How'd that go?
Well, couple things. One, as always, people are mad.
Okay.
Because they didn't get enough shinies and they paid for the event and rabble.
What was the price of the event?
It was $15.
And
so not cheap, but I guess in the past it's been $30 and you had to travel to Chicago. So all of your travel costs are going to be in there too.
Yeah, I mean that's the train ride.
Yeah, granted the cost or the event, I guess in the past lasted nowhere near this past weekend. It was 2 10-hour events, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. the one before was far less, but the like shiny rates were way higher. So I guess it balances out because people would post about GoFest in the past and be like, in 3 hours I caught 40 new shinies, and it's like, okay, they're not going to do that rate for 20 hours.
No.
That would break the game. Like that's just not happening. So I think a lot of people went in with very unrealistic expectations, thinking it would be
Wait.
these crazy boosted rates.
Wait 1 minute.
I know.
You're telling me that gamers went into something with ridiculous expectations.
Yeah, but the worst part is it's not even just gamers.
That's fair.
Because this thing appeals to so many more people.
It's Pappy. It's Meemaw.
Exactly. But like, and yes, it's random numbers. It's RGN, or RNG. But like, if you played I played consistently, and I know somebody else who played consistently, and we did just fine. Like, it was a worthwhile event. There were rare spawns. There were shiny spawns. People who are like, I caught 3 total and played for 20 hours. I'm like, no, you're either a liar or your version of playing was sitting at your house and forgetting to like actually look at your phone. Because there's just no way. Like, the statistics on that are near impossible.
They're the one person, just the one out of all million people that played.
Yeah. But no, it was good. Honestly, it was a fun event, but I think the thing that was better for me was the fact that I felt like I had plans. Like, life seemed normal again. I was like, oh, I have something going on every day. I'm going to leave the house both days this weekend. And like for a significant amount of time, not just to go do a really quick grocery shop like run.
Right.
It was real real plans.
I can see how that would be almost therapeutic in a way.
Yeah, for sure. What was not therapeutic was the fact that I forgot that sunburn is a thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was wearing a tank top day one, so my shoulders and the back of my neck are not pretty. They're a little better now, but like, I got home and I was like, oh no, I'm wearing a red tank top and they're kind of blending in.
Am I wearing a tank top or a shirt?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
But yeah, that was a good event. I enjoyed it.
So, okay, so it was $15. What did that get
Yes.
you? Like, what did the event entail? Like, what happened that was different than normal Pokemon Go?
So there was increased spawn. So on day one, because day one and day two were set up kind of different. Day one, every hour, it would act as if the biome change that you were in. So like 1 hour, it would be fire types. 1 hour, it would be grass. 1 hour, it would be, I don't know how they classified it, but it would be like dragon types and fighting types. So a lot more spawns than normal. On top of that, the shiny rates were boosted. Not insane, where it was like 1 out of 20 clicks, but certainly not 1 out of I think the normal stat is like 1 out of 405 or something like that. It was boosted, but not the community day levels that people kind of are
Used to with this amount.
trained to at this point. Yeah.
Okay.
Because like I said, I caught probably 30 in the 2 days that I played. If I went and played for 20 hours this coming weekend, I'd probably catch like 1 or 2. So increased spawns, increased shinies, and increased rare spawns were stuff like Dratini. Dratini would pop up. Whereas before that would be like, oh, I gotta go. I see
this is the most important thing I'm going to do today.
Yeah. So that was day one. Day two, they stopped doing the biomes, which I wasn't a big fan of. They just did like the newer things that had been given shinies. Those were increased spawns for the whole day, which got a little old after like hour 4 because you'd just see the same 15 or 20 things spawning, and that was it. whereas before it was like maybe 10 or 15 of each type during each hour. So really 60 different things would be spawning.
Right.
So that was a little disappointing, I guess. And then the other stuff that it gave you access to was there's a new mythical out, Victini, and you got to do the quest line early. It'll have a global release at some point, but you got to do it early. So I don't know if the rewards from the quest line besides Victini will change, because you also got some shadow legendary Pokemon that like Team Rocket had. I don't know. There's been a lot of like kudos to Niantic, because they've been really good at supporting this game and like keeping it fresh and keeping it interesting, and also keeping it playable during a pandemic.
Right. I want to look at something real quick.
Sure. But like they're giving out incense like candy, and they've increased it from a 30-minute duration to a 1-hour duration. And before it would be like, okay, you're going to get one Pokemon spawn every like 2 minutes. Now it's like you'll get one Pokemon every 30 seconds. So they've kept it very playable, especially on community days, because they'll boost that up to, instead of 1 hour, it's 3, and they'll make the event 6 hours total instead of, I think it used to be 4, maybe 3.
Yeah. So this is what I was looking up. So also kudos to Niantic for being woke and.
Oh yeah, that too. That's why that was another thing I was like, it's as you're about to discuss, there's a good, they're not just taking all of your money.
No. God damn it. I can't find, I know I saw this somewhere. I'm looking for the actual numbers, but I can't find it. Basically they doubled their, so back when, the George Floyd protests first started, Niantic, donated $5 million to, was it Black Lives Matter or was it a different charity? I think
it was so that's what I'm kind of confused on. They said it was to the Black Lives movement, but I think that it went to different programs that like teach Black youth coding and stuff like that.
I want to get this right.
Like there was a specific thing.
Right. All right. Games
but yeah,
industry.
they did pretty much right off the bat when they announced the tickets. They were like, hey, the first $5 million of profit of this is going to these charities or this movement or whatever, however they did it, as I'm hoping you'll find. Because I'm still a little confused on who got what.
Yeah, so Niantic pledged $5 million at first, and then they pledged $5 million more from this. So they doubled their initial donation. They donated now $10 million to their causes.
Yes.
And this article comes from gamesindustry.biz. In a public statement, CEO of Niantic, John Hankey, has pledged to donate all of Niantic's proceeds from Pokemon Go Fest with a minimum commitment of $5 million. So they might end up donating more if they're going to donate all of the proceeds. It says to donate all of Niantic proceeds from Pokemon Go Fest. So I guess, well, maybe there's overhead there too. I don't know. Anyway, they're donating.
I'm sure that there was, because even during the event, there was some like lag for a little bit. It was mostly whenever like the West Coast started to play too. And
right.
I was like, oh shit, we've got the whole US playing now.
Yeah, so the half of the donation will go to fund new projects from Black gaming and AR creators that will be brought to Niantic's platform, and the other half to US nonprofits helping local communities rebuild in the wake of instances of police brutality. So it's a range of different charities that they donated to. But kudos to them for
doing that.
Okay, so first of all, for upholding an event that they've done now for, is this the third or fourth year?
I want to say it's the fourth.
So they were able to continue the event that they've now, promoted for the last at least 3 or 4 years. And keep
during a pandemic.
During a pandemic, that's the big thing, is like they were able to put it on. Not even E3. They couldn't even put E3 on virtually, but they were able to do this. Yeah. At least. And so Niantic was able to do that. And then on top of all of that, being able to, not hoard the money and to put put it towards something worthwhile. So
Yeah.
kudos
for sure.
Niantic for being a beacon of light during this horrific time to be a human.
Oh yeah.
I'm really nervous about this.
It is
spider.
really nice to see the going back to the how they're continuing to support this game though. Like they've recently made remote raid passes so you don't have to be within like 20 feet of a gym to participate. Like if you just see it anywhere, you can participate. And they've more recently made it so that you don't even have to be like out. If your friend is at a raid, they can send you an invite and you can use a remote raid pass even if you're like in a different country.
Cool.
So lots of really cool support in terms of a mobile game that requires you to go outside during a time when you should not go outside.
For sure. Anything else?
I played, you know what I played? I played some Halo 3
Oh yeah.
cuz I saw I think somewhere on Twitter they were like, "Hey, it's make sure you get this skull. You can unlock it like just now and that's it. Once 2 days pass, it's gone forever." And I was like, "This is weird. I want to check this out." I forget what it's called. To get it, you had to kill 343 flying enemies. And like
Flying enemies.
yeah, somebody found a really good spot to do it where you just have to reload the checkpoint and just grind it out for
I'm guessing
I don't know, 30 minutes.
the bugs maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you shooting down banshees or what's going on here?
No. And what this skull does, and I I played around with it, it's a little clunky. It just lets you fly.
Acrophobia, the acrophobia skull.
You just fly around. And I'll tell you something. I learned that Halo 3 I don't know how it was like designed, but the game was not happy with me flying.
That's a shocker.
Do you remember the like missions very well?
Somewhat, yeah.
So you remember when you first go to the Ark and like it's a lot of stuff outdoors and you're trying to like get into the like I don't know if it's the cartographer room or what, but like you have to go. You drop in a Pelican with a sniper, and you go this long ass way through a bunch of vehicles and brutes, and you get to this door, and they're like, "Hey, we don't have the key. You're gonna have to go all the way like back and get tanks."
That's the one when not Pillar of Autumn. What's an Amber Clad comes down and like flies.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, that one.
That's probably
You remember the mission.
That's probably one of my favorite set pieces in any video game. Is you're sitting there. I don't know. Remember, I think it's just some random Marines with you, and I think you're in a Warthog, or you should be at least, unless you killed the Marines or in a Ghost or something. And then you see fucking an Amber Clad come flying down, and it just gives me chills talking about it. It's such a fucking great set piece.
Oh yeah, and like the way they did it, it wasn't just like, oh hey, big ship, cool, we just see it. It was like, no, big ship. Also, everything's blowing away.
Yeah.
Like you're in a sandy place, so obviously sand's kicking up, but any vehicles you had, if nobody's in them, they're gone.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyways, I went to that mission, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna dick around. I'm gonna see what this skull does. And so I just yeeted myself off, and like got to the first place where there's enemies, and they just weren't there. And I was like, oh. Interesting. So I kept progressing. There were no vehicles anywhere. There were no enemies anywhere. Clearly, you have to like beat a section at a time, and then it loads the next section. Because I was just walking around, and I was like, no, I should be absolutely getting stormed by like choppers right now, and I'm fine. There's nothing. There's not a grunt to be seen.
What a weird thing to add to a game like 12 years later. Just like the ability to fly through the game. Okay, 343.
Very, very peculiar. But yeah,
cool,
that was probably the other major thing I did. Just because it, like I said, was a bit of a grind to kill 343 stupid bug things.
I'm still grinding my way through Ghost of Tsushima. I cleared the first act of the game, the first island, basically. I'm probably about halfway through the second act, I would guess. I'm clearing. I'm playing this how I would normally play a Ubisoft game. I wasn't really sure how I was going to do this. I'm basically following just the question marks as I see them instead of progressing the story, even though I should probably progress the story first, because after you basically complete an act of the game, it pings,
more question marks come up?
Well, it pings like... so the way that it works is each section of the map... There's 3 sections of the map for 3 acts. Each section of the map has between 15 and 20 strongholds or camps, basically, that or where the Mongols are. And you have to liberate those camps. And as you liberate those camps, it does 2 things. It basically takes away the fog of war off the map.
So you can see.
Right, so you can see more. And then it also highlights all of the question marks that are in that area.
Okay.
But you also unlock the fog of war as you just travel. So as you walk from point A to point B, you'll find question marks along the way.
That feels very Horizon-like.
Yeah. And then once you clear all of the Mongol camps, then it unlocks the fog of war is entirely off the map. So I should complete the act, which gives me all of the Mongol camp locations. And then that would be a more streamlined way to do it. But I'm kind of going that let's just not backtrack as much route and try and like knock things out as I see them.
Sure.
So that's the way I'm going about it. I've now unlocked pretty much all of the like tools and stuff. There's one throwable item that I haven't unlocked yet, but the diversity of the weapons are really cool. And the way that they implemented the different sword stances for basically it's like not a rock, paper, scissors, but there's a stance that counters each enemy type.
Okay.
And it always feels fresh. And you can like level up the stances so you learn new moves for each stance. It's really cool.
Sounds fun.
The biggest thing is for me is just how beautiful the world is. I keep posting. If you follow me on Twitter, you've seen all of the screenshots I've been posting over the last week. Because I constantly like I went up to one of these temples that's on a mountain and I completed the little temple thing. Then I turned around and my jaw literally like dropped from just looking at the scenery and what's going on in it. And the screenshots I took are really pretty, but it doesn't even do it justice because in that world, everything is moving. So the screenshot is just the screenshot. But if you were to actually see the vista, when you're playing the game, there's like, you can see
birds flying in the sky,
birds flying. Yeah. You see the smoke billowing out of like these rice paddies and stuff that are on fire. You see the wind blowing and if there's rain or thunder and lightning, it's just so pretty. Like, I feel like all generation long, I've been praising games because they've looked pretty. Like Horizon Zero Dawn looks pretty. Last of Us 2 is really pretty and horrible, but scenery is great. I just feel like this one is just like the perfect way to end the generation because the combat's fun, sure. The story is a totally fine story. It's not blowing me away. It's not like it's doing anything like super interesting, but it's there. What's really standing out to me is the environment and just how gorgeous they made everything look from a scenery standpoint.
Yeah.
I did run into a little annoyance. When you start up Ghost of Tsushima, it asks you how you want your audio configured, and it gives you this. It has like 6 different types. It's like stereo. There might have even been a mono option. Then there's surround sound, sound bar, headset, and 3D audio headset. So there's like so many options to choose from. When I was playing it on stream before, I was playing it using the 3D audio because I have 3D audio headphones.
Yeah.
And then when I saved that information to the cloud and I downloaded it on my PS4, it kept the 3D audio and I didn't realize it. So when I was playing it on my soundbar, the mix was just horrible. Like you would be able to hear stuff, but the dialogue especially was either really, really quiet or super fucking loud. And I could not figure out why the fuck that was. I played the game that way for like maybe 5 or 6 hours. And I was about to like post something about it until I went into the audio settings, which I should have done off the bat when I noticed it.
Sure.
And I noticed that it was set to 3D audio. And as soon as I switched that over to the soundbar option, it was totally fine. Although there is one little weird audio thing that I cannot figure out that honestly, this is this game's poorly textured apples. So
oh, no.
Far Cry 5 had horrible apple texture. There were like these crates of apples. Like you go to Giant Eagle or whatever, you go over to the apple section. There's like a big crate of apples.
Yeah.
Far Cry 5 had these crates of apples all over the fucking world. And they were, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it.
It looked like somebody printed out apples and
it's
just
like,
put them in there. Like it was flat.
It's like you take bubble wrap. Like pretend like you have bubble wrap and then you paint an apple over every bubble. And that's what it looked like. Yeah. They weren't apples. It was bubble wrap. It was apple bubble wrap, I guess.
It was bad. It was very, very bad.
Anyway, in Ghost of Tsushima, there's this really specific sound effect, and it's the waves crashing over rocks.
Okay. Should be a very nice, like tranquil, peaceful noise.
Yeah, but when you're in certain parts of the world, really on the beach near rocks, I guess, sometimes that audio comes across like half-baked. It sounds like a MIDI track of waves.
Ooh.
Do you remember in the 90s and the early 2000s when you would go to a website and at the very bottom of the website would be a MIDI player and it would be playing like a MIDI version of some popular song, like something by Usher or something like that?
Very, very vaguely.
It sounded like MIDI water. It was just so jarring because, again, the world is fucking beautiful. And when you're mostly when you're by water, the sound is fine. Like when you're running through water, it sounds great. The waves by themselves sound great. It's just the sound of the water crashing over the rocks it's really, really bad.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of an audiophile, so this is probably something that only a small fraction of a % of people are probably going to realize. But to me, it's very jarring. Not enough for me to drop the game percentage because the game itself is good. But if this was like a Far Cry 5 level of game, this would be their version of apples.
It's not their Achilles heel, it's their Far Cry 5 apples.
Yeah. That's pretty much all I've been doing.
That's fair. I've been meaning to pick up the new Paper Mario game, but I like, went outside for the majority of the last couple days, so. Janet
beat it. It took her a week, I think. Maybe a little bit over. Maybe like 8 days to beat it.
Is that long or short?
She played it pretty continuously. I'm going to guess it was probably... I would guess somewhere between 20 to 30 hours. I'm going to guess like 20, 25 probably. So it's not a super long game. I think that she likes it because she's still playing it. After you beat the game, you can go back and find more collectibles and shit. Okay. So she's still playing it, but the last like 5 to 10 hours of the game, she was fucking pissed. I like it, and I've read this in reviews too, but apparently like the difficulty level of the game just gets ridiculous for some reason at the end.
That's been a thing. I feel like in almost all of the like, it was a thing in Mario Luigi Superstar Saga, at least that I remember the first time I played it. Like the final castle that you had to go to was, I just felt woefully unprepared. Same thing with Thousand Year Door. Like I think I couldn't beat the final boss the first time. Same thing with Super Mario RPG back in the day. I cleared the game just fine and then got to the last area or the last boss fight and I was like, I can't do this. This is an hour-long boss fight, and if I mess up once, it's over.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. Is like the boss fights get basically broken up into these 4 or 5 phases, And each phase is like fucking 20 minutes long. And if you fuck up, then you have to go back to the start. And then I think also on top of it just being hard already, there are some bosses or there are some instances where it's just super unfair in RNG. And it's like, well, this is awful. This is terrible. So
like
I think
the bullshit whenever in Persona 5 and it's like something cast a love charm on you and all of a sudden you have like one playable character and everybody else is just beating the shit out of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and then you
and
then you meteor run and the entire enemy party and they have full health again. Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah, so she liked the game, but I think she also hates it. I think if you asked her,
that sounds about right.
She's still playing it, mind you. But if you were to ask her if she liked the game, I'm pretty sure she would tell you that she hated it. So that's that.
All right. Well, that actually makes me feel better about buying it because that's how I felt the first time I played a bunch of these Paper Mario and like Mario styled RPG games. So if it's gonna recapture that magic, that angering, frustrating magic, like maybe it is gonna be a good game.
Okay, let's move on to our topic of the show. This week we are going on Game of the Year watch. We are now more than halfway through the year. We are almost upon the fall season. It starts in just a couple of weeks with the fall games starting to release. So it's a good time to reflect back on this pandemic, horrible year that we've had. And talk about, what we've played so far, what we think is on the list for our personal games of the year. If this is your first year with us, if this is your first time with us when we talk about Game of the Year, we have some stuff to tell you. Mainly that we don't do Game of the Year like everybody else.
Nope. We are broken.
First of all,
I guess we could look at changing that in the future, especially if I end up getting Game Pass.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, we first of all do our Game of the Year discussion at the end of January. I actually see a lot more websites and stuff doing this now, where I think
copiers. It
wasn't IGN. We were definitely doing it first, but there are some. I think that they're talking about maybe moving the Game Awards into January. Whereas before,
they better credit this podcast,
because before Game of the Year was always done decided on early December at the latest.
Yeah, but that's how Smash Bros came out one year, and they were like, okay, we're gonna put it on the ballot for next year because it's been out for like a week.
Yeah, and that's what's I'm pretty sure that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is going to be on ballots this year, even though that came out in 2019 because it came out like a week before the Game Awards and that award season started.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do see more awards. Sites that give out awards doing this in the January timeframe, but we typically do it the very last week of January because, again, we are not professional game critics. We don't do this for a living, so I like to give myself a little bit more time to play through the games that came out in the fall, just because there are so many of them that do during that time. So we typically do it around the end of January, but the other caveat to that is that we talk about the games that we played this year. It doesn't have to be a 2020 game to win 2020 Game of the Year for one of us.
It's just a new game to us.
A new game to us. In the past, I typically do play enough games. I do still. Like last year, I made two lists: one that had the 3 Persona games on it, and one that didn't. Because I typically do play enough new games every year to have a full discussion on only new games alone. But John typically his backlog is so fucking big that he has no time to do all
It's
this.
gross. Also, like, I don't feel economically motivated to go buy these new games because I have such a big backlog. And
right.
It's like, why am I paying $60 for a new game whenever I could beat these 3 games that I've had? And by the time that happens, this new game is $30.
Sure. Yeah, so we're going to talk about our Game of the Year watch so far. So again, that can be 2020 games. It can be games from 1985 if we really want to go back to the good old NES era.
I really should have put a link to the past.
But yeah, so we're gonna go through that. So we're gonna each talk about maybe 5 games or so that we think might be on the list. We're not numbering them. It's just what we've thought so far. in 2020.
Yes.
Do you want to go?
How many do you have exactly? Do you have 5 or? Because I've got 6. I wasn't sure if
I have at least
would have
5.
to, like,
I have
okay.
I have my list. I have at least 5. You can go first, just in case.
I'm gonna start with the one that actually came out this year. I think this is the only one that came out this year that's on this list for now, and it's pending.
Okay.
Because they are still coming out with updates that are making it better. Whenever it first came out, it was a lot of fun, and then after like a week and a half, it became less fun, and then Egg Day happened. So, Animal Crossing, maybe.
Animal Crossing would be on my list as well. I think that
they've certainly improved and added very cool new things. Like,
sure.
even have you played recently?
No.
Because you can like go snorkeling out in the ocean now.
Yeah, and I saw today.
That's a lot of fun. And there's a big new update with something about dreams.
Yeah, dreaming and something else.
Some kind of like, I think, festival. I know that Red's gonna be there, and like he's kind of like a carny, and you can play a carny game.
Fireworks.
And then
shows.
there's fireworks every week in August.
Yep.
So they're certainly still supporting this thing.
Sure.
I'd love to know why the game already got delayed for its release. So were they supposed to delay it again, and then they just couldn't bring themselves to do it? Like I'm confused. Is this their way
to
of
why they're rolling out new stuff?
Yeah, like why was this all not in the game originally? Was this their way of combating the like people who do time travel by messing with their
I don't think
dates?
it's malicious like that. I think it's just they want to support the game. It's their way of doing DLC. They're never going to make a Pokemon Sword and Shield
expansion pass or whatever.
Right. They're never going to do that because the people that play Animal Crossing don't. I will give Nintendo credit for this at least. With games that are not targeted toward hardcore audiences, and Nintendo doesn't have very. When I say hardcore audiences, I mean like us.
Yes.
Which they don't have.
You're talking the Legend of Zelda fans, the Mario fans.
I wouldn't even go that far. I would say like
Zelda had DLC.
Did you pay
Breath
for
of
it?
the Wild.
Though?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So Zelda,
Breath
Super Smash Brothers,
Smash Bros. Yeah. Pokemon.
Like the games that.
I think there's been any paid DLC for Mario.
No, there hasn't. But I'm not talking about like their bread and butter family oriented games. I guess a family could play Super Smash Brothers, but that's not really. There's a disconnect there. I feel like everybody can sense that.
That's a game that you play with your friends, not your family. Mario Kart did have DLC though, although the Switch version it was free, it was included, but the Wii U version.
Right, but
Mario Kart 8.
I guess where I'm going with this is they already do a pretty good job of managing DLC for people who know what DLC is. Which is maybe, I don't know how you feel about that, but like I know that people who play fighting games buy DLC, so we can put a DLC pack in Smash Bros. Also, Smash Bros is just the kind of game that you would do that with.
Yeah.
I really feel this doesn't come from a place of maliciousness. I think it's more, or even like we didn't have time to put it out into the base game. I think it's just they want to support the game in the same way that Blizzard supports Overwatch or Bungie supports Destiny, where they want it to feel fresh and they want people to come back to play the game. And even if it doesn't, even if it's not top 10 MPD for a month, just having a new update out might persuade someone else to buy the game at some point. Hey, I really like this event. I'll buy the game because I don't have it yet. Yeah, I really feel like it's just them wanting to support the thing they created. Yeah. And have new stuff. Because again, I mean,
I could see it.
Bunny Day didn't speak to me. I don't know who it spoke to, but
Bunny Day spoke to nobody.
I haven't gone back to that game because
it spoke demons.
Right. But I know plenty of other people that do go back to that game still daily or at least weekly. Because
I go back about once a week.
Yeah.
Just
So,
hoping and praying that Red shows up so I can buy a stupid painting. Spoiler alert, he doesn't.
yeah, Animal Crossing would be on my list too, only because, well, not only because, just because it had an amazing first 15 hours, which is
Yeah.
honestly all you need to play. Like,
And it was, and this was pure coincidence. I'm sure there's, Nintendo can't do that. It came out at the perfect time for it to come out.
someone leaked that to the president that the fucking Nintendo company created coronavirus in order to sell copies of Animal Crossing New Horizons
And Switches.
and
Couldn't
Switches.
keep those things in stock.
Right. Secretly, there's a lab in Kyoto, Japan, where Shigeru Miyamoto is in a basement somewhere looking over his virus collection, like, what can we release this year? What can we do? That's not a thing. If I see
No,
that
it's not.
somewhere, I'm gonna be so fucking pissed off. That like a headline on CNN. Anyway,
They'll link to a little audio bite from the podcast.
insider information says.
God, I wish.
No, but
All right, so
Animal
yeah,
Crossing, a great
Animal
game.
Crossing.
It didn't
Yes.
hold my attention for a very long time, but nothing does in this day and age. So definitely up there for me.
All right. Do you want to go? Or am I going through all of mine first?
Well, I mean, that was on mine too.
All right, fair. Next up, I guess, would be Hellblade. I, again, was kind of spooked during some of it, which I don't love. But it wasn't jump scare. It was just anxiety scare. But that game set out to show people what it's like to live with psychosis and various just states of mind, and it did it very, very well in pretty much every way that it could have, in level design, in just the feeling whenever they gave you that message of saying, hey, permadeath is a thing.
Yeah.
That alone, it was like, oh no.
And we
don't do this, please.
I forgot about this when we talked about this, because you brought that up, that the game tells you that there's permadeath.
Yeah, there's some weird rot on your arm, and every time you die, it goes up a little bit more, and they say, hey, if this rot gets to Senua's head, you're done. Like, you're not game over, you're really game over. Like, we're resetting your progress.
Right. When you brought that up, I kind of like went around, because I remember there was something specific about this, and I went back and listened to something to verify, and I just never remembered to bring it back up. It wasn't that the developers put that in there intending to maybe have that as a mechanic at some point, or to like fool you or anything. They did it because it reinforces the idea that Senua is not well. It's an unreliable narrator. Like, the person that's narrating the game, the Furies that are behind you, the narrator themselves, which the narrator isn't Senua, right? It's somebody else.
I think so, but at the same time, who knows?
Yeah. The entire point is that Senua is not well, and
Yeah,
everything that's happening is not real. And well, not that it's not real, but you know, it's half imagination, half it's psychosis. And the idea of the rot was to introduce an unreliable narrator, so that it got you thinking, well, maybe this isn't the same. Maybe this isn't what I think it is.
And the fact that it kept going up your arm, like, I'm sure eventually if you died so many times, you'd be like, hey, hold up, it hasn't moved for a while.
Right.
But the first, like, I don't know, 15 or 20 times you die, it probably is moving at least a noticeable amount. So I did do some research after beating it, and I was like, okay, what was the deal with this? And I found articles saying exactly that, where they were like, we wanted to give you some real world fear.
Yeah. Right.
And I was like, well, it worked. But yeah, the very, very well done game. And again, any game that it's kind of like Celeste, where any game that, like, they're able to put the message of the game into the gameplay and like make you actually experience it is an absolute masterpiece. For Celeste, it was you just have to keep on trying, even though you're gonna fail 800 times. You got to keep on going. In Hellblade, it was, hey, you're gonna be scared, but it'll be okay as long as you keep trying. Good
My
game.
next game that I have on here is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Again, did not play Final Fantasy VII prior to playing the remake. It kind of went in completely blind, but having some knowledge of the characters and the world and all that stuff. It really surprised me how much I connected with all of it, and it kind of made me think I was missing out on something for the last 15 years of my life. Because it is just it's a great story. It's a great world that they created. And it doesn't really make me want to go play all of the other Final Fantasy games, but it does make me want to go back and play the original Final Fantasy VII because I don't think we're going to get the remake part 2 for another couple of years.
Yeah, that's
but
disappointing.
I mean, everything that they did to it was clearly done out of a place of love. I mean, I'm sure this was motivated by money because all things are in this world that we live in. But there's just so much love for this game out there from everybody that owned a PS1. This was one of the PS1's like must play games. Like when I think about the PS1, it was Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, but really it was a JRPG machine with Final Fantasy VII being at the front of it. So yeah, it everything they did was done with love and care, and the world is great. The combat systems are great. The dialogue and the way that they just made me fall in love with those characters is just so masterfully done. And, yeah, I went into this game with a lot of skepticism because like when it was first announced, it was like it was a bombshell at PSX that year when it was announced. But then like a few months later, it came out that it was going to be episodic, and everybody that I knew or everybody that followed in the games industry at that time was like, well, fuck, this is never going to be completed. And it very well may never be completed. But like there was a lot of worry that, you know, it was going to be half baked, and like this was a 40-hour game. And granted, I think in the original game, this is only the first section of the game, which maybe took.
There were like 4 discs in the original, right?
Right, but yeah, this first section of the game was just literally the introductory area, and they made an entire game out of it, and it at no point felt bloated or like paced horribly. Like the pace was lightning fast the entire time. The story was engaging. The characters were great. Even like the small minor characters or like some of the secondary villains that don't get as much screen time, they just like ooze character and style. It's a great game.
Yeah.
And as someone who has not played Final Fantasy VII, I can definitely recommend it because I had no hype going into that game other than this is a series that I know a lot of people love. And I don't want to say my expectations were low, but this game exceeded them in every single way. So
I should probably give it a shot.
I think you'd like it. I mean, it's got all of the JRPG things that people love about JRPGs. But they also add in enough, you know, flair and style in a similar way to Persona 5, where this is not a JRPG like Xenoblade or like Kingdom Hearts or even like the more recent Final Fantasies like Final Fantasy 15. This is not that. This is like, there's just something else about it. You have to play to not find out. And I definitely recommend everyone play it before Game of the Year time, because this will be up there.
All right. Let's see. Next up on my list is a little indie game that I played. I think it came out last year? Question mark. Donut County.
It was last year or the year before.
One of the more recent years. I remember seeing that game pop up on like maybe not Game of the Year discussion, but like Indie Game of the Year discussion. And I was like, what is this? This looks dumb. Like I don't care for this. I don't want to know about it. I just get it out of my sight. And then on a whim, I bought it. I think it was on sale, and I was like, you know what? I heard enough about this. It was shoved in my face for so long. I might as well just see what this is about. And it was stupid fun. Like, especially because I think I started playing it towards the start of like everybody being forced to quarantine and stuff being shut down, and just everything was so dark and depressing. And the gameplay wasn't anything spectacular. Like, you're a hole that gets bigger when you eat things. That's been done time and time again.
Right.
But the humor that they just sprinkled all over this game. Like, whenever you beat each level, they give you the Trashopedia, and it just gives you great descriptions of all the things that you ate. And I was like, I was cackling on the couch at like midnight as I played this, and I looked forward to beating each level so that I could read all these dumb little these little quips about angry noodles that were snakes, and just like it was so funny, and it was just really refreshing. But yeah, would definitely recommend it. It's a short game. It doesn't overstay its welcome. The humor was spot on, and it doesn't like get overly complicated trying to make itself look like a really good game. It knows what it is.
For sure. It was August 2018 is when that game came out.
Okay.
And you saying that reminded me, if you own an iOS device, you could go and get like 5 games that are all like Game of the Year caliber games for $15.
Yes,
$15 right now in the iOS store.
Which ones are they?
Florence is $1.99. That is a game built for mobile. I think it's on Nintendo Switch, but it's like a 45-minute game, and you can play it on your phone, and it's totally fine. That's how I would play it. I wouldn't play it on Switch. But Florence is $1.99. Journey is $2.99. Flower is $2.99. Gone Home is $3. Donut County, $3. Those are all must-play games. Must-play indie games. Especially, I mean, all of them are great, but Gone Home? Seriously? Gone Home for $3? Flower and Journey through $2.99? Play these games.
Yes.
If you can,
also
I would play.
There's another one that I don't think it was like tweeted in whatever deal that I'm guessing showed you all these. Was it a Wario 64 tweet?
It was a Wario 64 tweet.
There's also, I think it might be a little more pricey. Yeah, it's $4.99, but you can get To the Moon for $4.99.
Great game. Game of the decade.
Yep.
What do I want to talk about next? I'm going to go. Ghost of Tsushima is on my Game of the Year list right now. I've talked about that at length for the last 2 weeks, so I don't want to go too into depth with that.
Sure.
But it's what a lot of reviews said. It's a classic open world game. If you like open world games, if you like Assassin's Creed, if you like The Witcher, this hits all of those. And it cherry picks like things from different genres that coalesce into this great experience. It doesn't do any one of them exceedingly well, but as a finished product, as an amalgamation of all the other products, it's very, very good.
Yeah. On that kind of train of thought of something you've discussed a bunch, I'm going to also mention a bit of a weird one. Well, 2 games that I think are going to be in my Game of the Year discussion, but I have not played yet, but I intend on playing.
We'll save that for the next part.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Psych.
Psych.
Fooled you. You paying attention? Then in that case, the next game that I would like to bring up is a game that I now understand why you were so upset with the Game Awards last year.
Yep.
Fire Emblem 3 Houses 100% should have been there.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with the it was the fan audience vote or whatever that gave it
Game
of the Year.
Yes, the audience vote gave it Game of the Year. For
like at first I was a little skeptical. I was like, all right, this is just a bunch of butthurt Fire Emblem fans that are just mad, and they feel like it got snubbed, but whatever. No, after playing that game for well over 60 hours, it got snubbed. Again, you had never played a Fire Emblem game before. I had never played a Fire Emblem game before. I don't know how the rest of them go, but this game was very well done.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's like essentially 3.5 games built into it.
With full voice tracks. Like, the game is well written. The story is so intricate. And, like, you can only get all of it by playing all of the paths, which I have not done, admittedly. But, like, the fact that it's all voiced. Every single line of dialogue in the game is voiced.
Including the main character, who could be played as male or female.
Yes. There are, like, 30 plus characters in that game. The voice cast is huge. And by the way, the voice cast very distinguished. Like, all of the voice actors, if you look at any anime that's been dubbed, there's only so many voice actors out there that do these kind of games in anime. It's all of them. Like, chances are your favorite voice actor is in this game, most likely.
I was admittedly shocked when I learned that the very shy and timid Bernadetta was played by the same voice actress who voiced Ryuko Matoi in Kill la Kill.
Right.
I was like, hold up. Time out.
Wait, hold on. What the fuck? Those are two very different characters.
She also voices Gon in Hunter x Hunter, and like I was like, okay, an energetic little boy, that's fine. Like, Ryuko's kind of a tomboy sometimes. This all works. It's just tomboy but less angry.
Sure.
But then I was like, hold up. You're telling me that she voiced the person who never left her room? What?
It's
actually,
so
speaking of the Fire Emblem voice cast, it's too late now, but they had like a Zoom celebration of the 1-year anniversary or something, where I think that there were different artists that they partnered with to like sell prints of their art, and if you bought it, they would sign it live on stream or whatever. And they would sign it, and it was very involved, and I think it was mostly driven by the cast.
Yeah, themselves. So it was the 1-year anniversary of the game was this last week.
Yes.
And all of the voice actors, almost all of them at least, were involved in some way. Either they were just tweeting,
they were promoting the hell out of it.
Right, they were retweeting like fan content, like fan art and stuff that they were finding, and
you love to see it. They're just
do.
Giant nerds who are employed in a nerdy business.
100%, yeah. Yeah, what the fuck, Jeff Keighley? Why was that game not in there? I can understand if it didn't win, but for it to not be nominated, you're mental. You're mental.
It was so good. And the stories, I mean, I only played through one route, but like there's so much interaction between these characters.
Right.
Like almost to the point where it annoys you when you finish a mission and you're like, all right, let's sit down and watch 40 minutes of these little cutscenes between people. Maybe not the best pacing, but the content was all of just top tier.
You and I had very similar opinions, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Next up for me is going to be the other obvious one, I think. Well, I guess there's two more obvious ones for me. The first one is Last of Us Part 2. Masterpiece. 10 out of 10 game, for sure. No doubt in my mind. There are a lot of people out there that didn't like it when it came out for various reasons. I think that maybe 60 to 70% of those reasons were from a place of malintent, due to some of the themes and some of the political decisions that Naughty Dog chose to include in the game. And they shouldn't even be political decisions or political points. They're just fucking whatever. Social issues, I guess.
Yes.
There were a lot of people that diss the game because of some of the social issues that Naughty Dog chose to tackle in the game. And there's another 30% of the people didn't like the game have a totally valid point that they, maybe they didn't like the way the story went. Maybe they didn't like some of the decisions that the characters made. But at the end of the day, they don't own those characters. Like, Naughty Dog told the story that they wanted to tell. And Neil Druckmann, Troy Baker, and Ashley Johnson have gone on so many podcasts, so many shows, from Kind of Funny to What's Good Games, and all these other places have done shows with these people who have been really present in the public. I don't know that I've ever seen like a development team, especially the two main actors and the game director, go out after a launch of a game and talk about a game as much as these three people did. But they went out and said, you don't like Troy Baker, who plays Joel. Troy Baker, prominent voice actor who was brought to power by fucking, Gearbox, gave him all the power. Anyway,
yeah,
Troy Baker is Joel. Troy Baker is Joel at the end of the day. Troy Baker knows Joel because he is Joel.
Yeah.
And
put him in that situation, you got Joel.
Right. And, he went out and said that this character did exactly what he, was meant to do. Like, they didn't make out of character decisions. They wouldn't do that to these characters because they're the ones that love these characters the most. The guy that created them and the two people that are the characters love these characters more than anybody else. And that's like, no, you can't argue that. You can't love a character more than the character itself. That was a long tirade about something, but some people have issues with the story. Some people have issues with the way the characters reacted, which are totally valid. And those people rated the game where they think it probably should have been, but all of those people rated the game at like 7 to 8. None of these people Metacritic bombing that rated the game 0 out of 10 because they didn't like it.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
They were adults. They said, I don't agree with this, but it's still a good game. And it still did, I assume, tell a good story.
Yeah, 100%. It's a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. It is the pinnacle of storytelling in games. There is not a game out there that can do, or there's not a game out there that matches what Naughty Dog was able to do from a storytelling perspective in this game. That doesn't even talk about how good the game plays. Like as a game as a video game, the game plays amazing. The stealth mechanics, the gunplay, it's all there.
And as you discussed earlier, it's graphically very capable.
It's everything. It's everything in one package. It's not for everybody, for sure. It's not for everybody. It's not.
But not every game has to be for everybody. That's
right. And it's not trying to do it like it. This is off the. Never mind. I'm not going to go there. Anyway, it's a masterpiece in every way. It's definitely going to be somewhere near the top of my list when it comes time to talk about it.
Makes sense. My next game is one of your previous games of the year, I think. And that's Horizon Zero Dawn.
It beat Zelda for me that one year.
If it came down to it, I would still give it to Zelda. I'm sure that there's some personal bias in that decision, but there are some gameplay mechanics that I did really legitimately prefer over what Horizon did. But the things that Horizon did well, it did really, really well. It was a massive world with a lot of exploration. There were very unique and cool enemies and just different tribes and cultures. It all felt natural. It truly felt like that's how the world would end up if the situation that led to that world were to happen. And I mean, it's an older game at this point, but it did just get released to PC, so I don't want to get too like spoilery.
Yeah.
But yeah, the weapons are fun. The gameplay is fun. Just, it was a lot of fun.
Cool idea for a game.
Oh yeah. Whenever I saw like, okay, there's this random girl shooting bows and arrows at robots. I was like, time out.
Hold on here.
Who greenlit this?
Yeah.
But whenever you get the context and the whole situation explained, you're like, okay, yeah, this all makes actually 100% sense.
I can remember it was the E3 before I started my master's degree. So it would have been E3 2015 is when Horizon was unveiled. And there were so many rumors about Gorilla's fucking robot dinosaur game that like everyone was in total and utter disbelief that Guerrilla Games, the studio that for the past decade had been locked and chained to the Killzone franchise, was making a game about robot dinosaurs and what the fuck that game was going to be about. And then they dropped the trailer at that 2015 E3 conference, and everybody was like, this looks really fucking good. Yeah. But before that, before the E3 showing, everyone was just in disbelief and like, this is going to be total shit. Luckily, it wasn't.
Thank goodness. But yeah, no, very, very good game. Very fleshed out game. It's got pretty much something for everybody. And I mean, just visually, it was very stunning too.
Last obvious game for me is a little game called Persona 5 Royal, which I'm sure nobody saw coming. And what else can I say about Persona 5 at this point? I'll echo what I stated after I had beaten the game a few months ago, in that it takes Persona 5 and it finishes it in a way that the original one didn't. The small improvements they made throughout the course of the game feel like they matter. The extra characters were added with care. The changes they made, especially in the late game, fantastic. There's no reason to play for Persona 5. Just play Persona 5 Royal. Yeah, I mean, it's just a better Persona 5 experience, for better and worse, but it is that game.
There is one gripe I have about, I haven't played it yet, but I do remember seeing you play it at one point. And my only complaint based on what I saw was I never want to do a sneak attack because I don't love the song that
it grows on you. I mean, Takeover, so they did
the original one is so good.
It is. Last Surprise is great, but I've also listened to Last Surprise for probably like at least 25. Yeah, something like that. Some ridiculous amount of time I've listened to Last Surprise.
I mean, I'm sure that you've listened to it just like not during the game because I think you have the CD or like the soundtrack.
Yeah.
But if you also count the time that you listened to it while you played the game,
right?
That's a long time.
That's a long time. So yeah, they did this with Persona 4 too, and actually they did it with Persona 3 when they introduced the female main character. With Persona 3, I guess the Persona 3 female main character's battle theme was different than actually all of the female characters were different from the male main characters, or at least most of them. So that was when they first started experimenting with this, and then with Persona 4. They did exactly what they did with Persona 5, where they had one battle song set to sneak attacks, and they had one battle song set to head-on attacks. Yes. In Persona 4, it was a little more varied because sneak attacks were not as easy to pull off as they are in Persona 5.
Yeah, like they really do feel...
It's really...
Like as long as you're hidden...
Right.
You're good to go. Unless they're like, hey, you can miss. I don't think you can.
Right. Unless you really fuck up. It's really hard to get a non-sneak attack in Persona 5. In Persona 4, like you have to go up and literally like you have to run up. You can't just press X to jump onto the enemy. You have to run up to the enemy and then smack them with your sword. And depending on where you hit the enemy in their hitbox, it determines whether or not it's a sneak attack or not.
Sure.
That's not the way with Persona 5. So to me, I mean, Takeover really grew on me as a song. I liked it when it first debuted anyway, when they showed it in the first trailer. But as I listened to it more, it grew on me. And just after playing Persona 5, almost like 5 full times before this, it was nice to have a different battle track. And it's not like, I mean, even through that playthrough, you hear Last Surprise enough. When you do fuck up and you do miss a thing, and enemy ambushes you.
I feel like 90% of the battles in Persona 5 are sneak attack battles. About 5% are head on, where it's just like kind of an unavoidable thing. And
Right.
then the other 5% is,
Shit.
I didn't mean to do that. I clicked the wrong button.
Right.
Oh no, run.
Yeah.
And then you get cornered.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I really liked a lot of the music changes that they made, but it is a totally fair point to say you like Last Surprise more than Takeover.
And that might change as I play it, but my
Oh,
initial reaction was, no, I don't like this new song. Give me the old one. Thank you.
I do also want to point out, because I don't feel like I talked about this enough, but if you played Persona 5 and were annoyed at mementos specifically, Persona 5 Royal Mementos is so much fucking better. It's unbelievable how much better they made mementos in Persona 5 Royal. First of all, they varied the song. The song is no longer the same thing for like 150 floors or however many. Now it varies up. It's a different. It changes. Just like it's very similar to how they did Tartarus, where there's a different, like every 20 floors or so, there's a new remix of the song basically, but it's not annoying in any way.
Okay.
But then they also vary the floor content in mementos to like they changed it up enough so that it's not repetitive. It's still kind of repetitive, but not anywhere near as bad as it was in the first game.
Okay.
So Persona 5 Royal. In case you didn't know about my fucking burning passion for Persona, that game's going to be on the list somewhere.
If you're watching the stream, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 shelves dedicated to Persona 5 merch behind Josh.
How many have we talked about so far? Was that 5 or was that 4? How many did you have more?
5.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have one more, and Animal Crossing made it 6.
Okay.
So this will be number 6. And my last one as well. My last one is a little game that I kept putting off because I wanted to play the original, even though I was told you don't need to play the original. I am glad I did it that way because it made me appreciate it that much more, and that was A Link Between Worlds. I had started and stopped A Link to the Past a bunch of times throughout my life. Mostly probably because I was playing it on Game Boy Advanced. And so I would be playing it and I wouldn't have a smartphone at the time. And I would be like, I don't know what on earth I need to do now. Because this game is an old school Zelda and they don't always give you they don't hold your hand. They let you figure things out. There's like a fortune teller, but they don't necessarily give you the fortune you need. They'll just give you one of the fortunes. And so I would get stuck, finish whatever road trip I was on, and put the game down and play my GameCube. So I wanted to play A Link Between Worlds, and I was like, well, I know that it's a spiritual successor, and like it's not required to play A Link to the Past first, but I really feel wrong playing this one without playing the original. And again, I'm very glad I did. Whenever I beat A Link to the Past and jump to this new one, it obviously shares a map, but like it felt like I was going back and playing more A Link to the Past just with better updated graphics, some friendlier interfaces and gameplay mechanics, and just it really did feel like a sequel, not necessarily in story, but just as a game. That said, the game was fun. Like it was just, I was worried that I'd be a little burnt out since I had just played A Link to the Past for who knows how many hours. But as soon as I started, I was like, no, this is good. I'm not tired of this. Probably because it was so updated and it did feel so different, but at the same time so similar. But just so fun. I would highly recommend it if you have a 3DS. Do you have a 3DS? Do you have any interest in playing this?
No. I do have a 3DS. Probably won't play it, though.
Understandable, since you don't like that kind of game. But
yeah,
it's just like I had heard so many people give it high praise, and I was not completely sold, or rather I wanted to see it with my own eyes, and now I definitely believe it, and I definitely agree. That game deserves all the high praise it got.
The last game I'm going to mention here is a game that I doubt it's going to be on the list. It's probably going to be an honorable mention. It may fall off even from there, depending on how good the rest of the year is.
Sure.
And I don't think I actually talked about this game on the podcast because I played it in like the first week of quarantine. And I don't think that I talked about it when we came back.
Probably not, because we were both like depressed.
Yes. But it's
canceled the podcast for like a month.
Right. It's a game that I think has made its way off of Steam. It may be on Switch now. But it's called Yes, Your Grace. Have you seen anything about this? Or have seen gameplay or anything?
It's confusing my brain because I'm just imagining Fire Emblem.
It's not Fire Emblem.
No, I know, but like I'm just imagining the second in command or whatever they are, like talking to, especially with the route that you and I played. I'm just imagining this being a game where you're playing as Hubert, serving Edelgard.
So you actually play as Edelgard. So
what?
Yeah. So it's called Yes, Your Grace. It is developed by Brave at Night is the developer, published by No More Robots. So if you No More Robots is put on a lot of stuff. If you like No More Robots games, this is a No More Robots title. But it was originally only on Steam, but now it's on Switch, Xbox, and Xbox One, and Mac OS apparently. So you can play it in a variety of places. Not PS4
Listen,
yet.
I'm glad that they put games on Mac OS, but I get annoyed when I see that.
Yeah, it's not truthful.
It's
or helpful
whatever.
to anybody. Anyway, Yes, Your Grace is basically it's a kingdom management game where you are playing. It's pixel art. It's all pixel art. It's very beautiful pixel art. But you're playing as the king, and basically you sit on your throne, and a bunch of people, a bunch of peasants, like minstrels and shit, come into your court and ask you for stuff. And
Naturally.
You either say yes or no, or sometimes there's a middle option where you can say, well, you can have some of it or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's set in this, like, it's super sad. So it's set in this, like, kingdom that's on its last legs, basically. And there is this barbarian horde that is coming towards you because you promised your firstborn daughter as a wife to this Mongol, or I say Mongol because I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima, to this barbarian warlord,
sure,
basically.
As you would do back in those times.
Right. And you only promised him her because you were going to double cross him later on. And so and
if you didn't, you would probably be killed at the time.
Right. And you have no intention of giving him your daughter. But basically you have to like bring these neighboring neighboring kingdoms into your alliance to fend off these attackers.
Okay.
And there's a lot
So you're trying to unite Fodlan?
Basically, there's a lot of like intrigue that goes on. There's a lot of backstabbing, and like the game ultimately is about this king who's legitimately like, he doesn't want to be in this situation. He doesn't even really want to be the king. It's just like, this is his lot in life, and all he wants is for his family to be together,
Sure.
and like to not die at the hands of this horde of people coming to kill him, essentially.
Pretty reasonable demands for a king of whatever age this was.
Yeah, it's I don't want to say it's basically it's a strategy game. It's a resource management game. I wouldn't say it's hard, but I did have to restart twice because if you make bad decisions early on, you get quick game overs. But after that first hurdle, I was able to finish out the rest of the game without any issues.
You can kind of recover if you screw something up.
I think so. Just don't make bad decisions, basically.
Sure,
but
sure.
It's a really pretty game. Again, it's all pixel art. It's engaging. The story is kind of whatever, but the characters are charming in their own way. There's a lot of good humor in it, like sort of self-deprecating humor. Like the castle's falling down and the king's just like, well, this fucking sucks. Okay. That's a cool game.
Right.
Yes, Your Grace.
How long is it?
I think like 10 hours, 10 to 15 hours.
That's not bad. Yeah. I might consider getting it if I'm stuck and don't know what to play next.
It would be a good like vacation game. Like if you're going, no one's going on vacation, but
if I'm going somewhere,
let's pretend you're one of the people that's gonna like get a beach house or something, and you're gonna do nothing but sit in your own beach house for a week. This might be a good game to play on the beach in 10 to 15 hours on your Nintendo Switch.
All right, I'll get sunburnt horribly and play this game.
Okay, so real quick. What are you looking forward to the rest of this year? So this is why I said hold off on those other games.
Yeah, no, that's honestly, I'm glad that this is a topic because I was going to ask you what I should play next because I don't 100% know. The two games that immediately, right off the bat, I know I want to play this year are one of them sitting in a still cellophane wrapped package, Persona 5 Royal, and the other one is Paper Mario. I would know what else I want to play this. Again, those two for sure.
Yeah.
I would like to. I'm really trying to make my top 10 game of the year list be at least a majority of titles from this year. And I think I can do it.
So, I mean, I'll go. I have all the ones I'm looking forward to. So maybe you can pick some of those as I talk about them.
I would like to get Ghost of Tsushima too.
Yeah. If with those two games that you mentioned with Paper Mario and with Persona, this is a good time to probably play both of those because we have another at least a month before the fall games start to drop. Yeah. At least the ones that you maybe care about, especially if Nintendo is going to stealth drop some of these Mario 35th anniversary titles that were teased earlier this year.
I don't think they were teased. They were leaked.
They were leaked, whatever.
Yeah.
If those are true, they have to start coming out soon.
Yes.
So
especially if they want to, release a Mario game for his 35th anniversary.
Right. So I think now, again, Paper Mario, Janet was able to beat it in a week, and she's Janet, so not a pro gamer by any stretch of the imagination. So it can't be,
I could probably do it.
I would think so,
or quicker.
And then Persona 5 Royal, it took me 6 weeks. Again, I dragged my feet the entire way through it, and I was super depressed with quarantine.
Plus, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but you played the original 4.5 times,
right?
Which again means that you're going to be way better at playing the game, but you also might be a little less motivated because you've seen
it was definitely a motivation
5
issue.
Times now.
Yeah, it took me 5.5 weeks or so to beat it.
Yeah, and I've played through the original once and would really like to, there's still content. I meant to go do a second playthrough, but there's original content I haven't seen.
I don't think I talked about this on the podcast either. I might be wrong, but this game is so fucking easy. Persona 5 Royal is it's easy. Not even just like from a difficulty perspective. There are some hangups, especially in Okumura's Palace, that are like...
I heard about that.
Teeth grinding. How annoying they fucking are. But...
Is it the mini boss or the boss?
It's the boss. It's him. There's there's a phase of his battle that is just so fucking annoying.
I think I've seen screenshots of it. Does he have a new friend?
I can't remember if that part was new, but that's not the thing. I'll let you discover that on your own.
All right.
It's not that the game itself is easy from a combat perspective, because you can make that hard if you want to.
Oh, you did talk about this before.
It's so easy. Oh no, I talked about the trophies. The trophy list is really easy.
You talked about both.
Okay. It's really easy to maximize everything. I went into Persona 5 Royal thinking I was going to do 2 playthroughs of it right off the bat. Like I was going to play the game twice in a row without taking any break in between, because I wanted to 100% the compendium, and I wanted to
rank up all the
confidants, which typically, unless you were following a guide, was not possible to do in vanilla Persona 5.
Yeah, you did it in the Japanese version, but you had to
follow a guide.
Your decisions were made.
Right. You're looking at a guide day by day. It's literally a spreadsheet that says this is January 1st. You have to make this decision. You have to drink this smoothie. You have to do this.
Not the ideal way for me to play a game.
Not at all. This game made it so easy to finish it. If you're taking too much time dicking around with like jobs, or I mean, I again came in with 5 playthroughs under my belt, so I knew a lot of stuff that I had to do. Like I knew going in that I was going to have to work certain jobs to get certain side quests for some of Mishima's requests and stuff.
There's a different side quest associated with each job as you learn.
So like I knew to go in and I maximized those things. I knew that I needed to advance Chihaya as quickly as I could and Kawakami as quickly as I could in order to go out at night after I went to the metaverse and with Chihaya to boost the social stats with the confidants. Because if you use Chihaya's method, you can get more star or more music notes.
Instead of 3 music notes, I think there's a secret 4th one or something.
Exactly. Right. So you can level up your confidants faster by using her. So like going into the game, I knew to get those 2 as quickly as I could. And like I had days left at the end where literally I was done with all the confidants. I had everything completed before the new semester. Like I was done with all the confidants aside from Kasumi, the main character, who has some stuff in the new semester.
Makes sense.
So there were some days where I had to hang out with Kasumi to finish stuff, but everything else was done before Christmas. I finished the entire Persona 5 base game before Christmas and didn't even have to use the new semester. So even if there's some room for error there.
Clearly.
Because I played it almost perfectly from just my knowledge of the game, and I had so much time left over.
I think I'll probably do Paper Mario first just because it is a shorter thing.
That's what I was going to say. And that
I'll be able to knock it out quick.
And if there are secret Nintendo games that drop later this year, it gives you some space between Nintendo games.
Yes.
So that would make sense. Yeah, I would definitely recommend Ghost of Tsushima just because I know you like open world games. There's a lot of Breath of the Wild, a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn in there. If you're feeling any fatigue from Horizon Zero Dawn, though, maybe wait a little bit.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It would be perfect if I played it after playing Paper Mario and then Persona.
Yeah.
Because that'll be,
those are 2 very
30 hours later.
Right. And those are 2 very linear experiences. A lot of people think Persona 5 is like this big open world RPG, and it's not at all.
No, definitely not.
So yeah, that would be good, I think. So let's see, 2020. Here's what I have on my list of things that are still due out in 2020. The first couple things have dates. Marvel's Avengers come out on September 4th. The more I hear about the game, the less excited I get. When they dropped that first trailer at E3 a year ago, I thought it was a pretty decent trailer. I was excited about the voice cast because the voice cast themselves were treating it like they were the fucking Avengers because it was Troy Baker, it was Nolan North, it was basically the Avengers of voice actors, and they got them to play the Avengers.
It was the voice actors who were in Fire Emblem.
Pretty much, yeah, the highest paid ones.
Yes.
And that trailer, it wasn't a perfect trailer. The gameplay looked a little stale, at least from what was in engine, but just like the thrill of there being an Avengers game, a real AAA Avengers game was exciting. But then like they've released 2 or 3 more trailers and like gameplay demos and stuff of people of like what the gameplay looks like. And it doesn't look good.
The more you see, the less you want.
Yeah. This game looks like it's going to score in the 7 to 8 range. 8 is going to be the very highest end of the review scale. I have a feeling. But I can see it getting like 5s and 6s if it's going the way I think it is. So I don't think this is a game I'm going to end up playing, but maybe it turns out great. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then on October 2nd, Star Wars Squadrons comes out, which is a game I'm super pumped for. We haven't had a real dogfighting Star Wars game since... Has it really been Rogue Squadron 3 on the GameCube? I think was the last one. It's been a very long time. I guess there's dogfighting in Battlefront, but this is a game that's built around it. Like this is from the ground up designed as a space fighter combat sim.
Yeah.
And the way that they've like described the ships, it's very much almost like Overwatch in space, where the ships each have their own like specialties, and it's very much like a role. Like almost like a roll shooter, but with ships. So that looks really cool. Looking forward to that. Watch Dogs Legion, October 29th. I think that's going to be a day one purchase for me, depending on what's going on before that, I guess. If there's something else I'm like stuck in, or maybe if this game is bad, I don't pick it up. But again, after the Ubisoft 4 presentation from a few weeks ago, I'm actually really high on this game. I think it looks pretty neat. I wasn't sold on it before, but the Ubisoft 4 did it for me. So Watch Dogs Legion is doing it for me. Valhalla not doing it for me. I think that it's going to be a fine game, but I think I'm going to have too much fatigue from Ghost of Tsushima this year.
Oh, yeah.
To play, because this is literally forever, since Assassin's Creed 2, people have wanted Ubisoft to do an Assassin's Creed game in Japan, and Sucker Punch did that for them. That game exists, and it's called Ghost of Tsushima. This game did everything better than Assassin's Creed Odyssey did. Like, this game is Assassin's Creed. It's what I wanted out of that game. It doesn't feel stale. It's beautiful. It hits all of the notes that Assassin's Creed does, but I feel like
no eyeball people.
It does it better. So if Valhalla is great, it's going to be a game I play in January. If Valhalla is so-so, it might be a game that I pass. But it's definitely not going to be a day one purchase, because 2 days later, Cyberpunk 77 drops.
Yeah, I forgot. I honestly forgot that that's happening still. It feels like a Valve game that has a 3 at the end of it.
It really
it's just not happening.
So Cyberpunk 2077 definitely takes priority over Assassin's Creed Valhalla any day of the week.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
I really think that it's coming out. I feel like it has to come out. They've delayed it they've had 2 high-profile delays already. If they delay it again, I don't know what happens. I think that they're going to do everything they can to put it out. I'm excited to play that game a lot. Even though I only played like the first 5 hours of The Witcher, and I've never played The Witcher 3, I played the first like 10 hours of the original Witcher game, and I don't really have that much affinity for CD Projekt Red, like as a developer. Just something about this game just screams like this is a must-play game. Like the way that everybody is talking about this game, and maybe this is unfair, and it's going to lead to a lot of issues when the game comes out, but this just feels like a game that if you don't play it when it comes out, if you don't play it within like the first couple of months, you're going to be... It's like one of those water cooler things. You're not going to be able to talk about it. You're not going to be able to be part of the zeitgeist, because this is the zeitgeist. This is the game that everybody's been waiting for 4 years, 5 years.
Long time.
So Cyberpunk is November 19th. Then we have the games that were announced at the... Well, I guess not announced, but there were games, some of them were, at the PlayStation 5 reveal event that don't have dates yet, that are labeled as 2020 games. We got Spider-Man Miles Morales. Definitely going to be a game that I play, again, unless it comes out right around Cyberpunk time. Hopefully that's the game I'm playing before Cyberpunk, and I don't have to... That might also be the game that pushes Legion out for me, or Watch Dogs Legion for me, depending on when it comes out. But Miles Morales is definitely going to be pretty quick. Bug Snacks 2020.
Oh, man.
Bug Snacks is coming out this year. It's happening. That's what they said.
Honestly, I was okay with Bugsnax just being the song at this point. Like, I forgot that there was a game.
No, it's a game. There's stuff that you have to play the game. Yeah.
No, so, I know. That's 100% on my must play list for this year too.
Yeah. So Bugsnax. Deathloop is the game from Bethesda, which didn't do anything for me last E3, just like Watch Dogs Legion didn't. It didn't wow me at all. But then the trailer that they showed at the PS5 reveal event just sold me on it. I'm so excited for Deathloop from Arcane at Bethesda Studios. So that's going to be sometime 2020. And then this game I'm not excited for, but it's a game that I feel like a lot of people are talking about, so I need to be cognizant of it, I guess. And that game is Godfall, which is like that weird... We saw it at the Game Awards last year. It's like that weird medieval Destiny looking game from Gearbox, if you remember that at all. But
Vaguely.
Godfall is due out in 2020 as well.
Okay.
So,
I did remember a couple of other games on my list.
What you got?
Basically, I think, as we discussed last week, Xbox has probably sold me on Game Pass. So almost anything that has anything that they discussed as a 2020 release and like day one access for Game Pass, especially including Halo Infinite is coming out this year, right?
Yes.
So Halo Infinite is 100% on there. If Grounded comes out this year, again, I don't know if any of these games have official release dates yet, but Grounded I would really like to play, and there's a couple of other ones, but almost everything on the Game Pass showcase for the Xbox Series X is fair game for me to want to play, especially, again, if I have Game Pass, because then I don't need to drop $60 for a game whenever it's like, hey, there's 8 new games out. You ready to drop $500 minimum? Or no, let's just spend $10 a month. That's okay.
Yep. I did think of 2 more things after you said your thing.
All right.
One, I don't think this is a game I'm going to play unless it happens at Extra Life. And there's probably like a 60% chance of it happening at Extra Life if I had to guess. But today, Studio MDHR put out Cuphead on PlayStation 4 for some reason.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So Cuphead, now multi-platform on all the platforms. It's on Switch, it's on Xbox, it's on PS4. So I might play Cuphead, maybe. We'll see.
You're gonna hate it.
Probably. Most likely.
No, there's no probably. You are going to hate it.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it because it's very charming.
The art style is just so perfect. It's so good. It's 1930s Disney. It's so good.
And if I remember right, they did it all by hand. Like it's not just computer generated. It's this was done to look like 1930s and in the style and way that they had to do that in 1930.
And that's leads me to a question that nobody has the answer to, but where the fuck is the Cuphead DLC that was announced like 3 years ago?
They're still drawing.
They're still drawing it, yeah.
Yep.
So Cuphead, maybe. And then Persona 5 Scramble, not confirmed for 2020. At this point, I highly doubt it's 2020, but Atlas has done weirder things than put out a game with little notice.
Yeah.
I put this in the show doc, and I talked about it on Twitter, but it was recently confirmed in a Koei Tecmo financial presentation that Persona 5 Scramble, the Phantom Strikers, is definitely planned to have a Western release.
Whenever there was a bunch of stuff on Twitter that you were like retweeting and replying to, and you at one point were like, did I have a fever dream of like hearing about this a year ago? And I was like, if you did, then I had the same dream.
And it's because we did not have a fever dream. That was a thing.
Yeah.
That 2 things happened actually. One is that it was leaked in an Atlas financial presentation that there was going to be a P5S Western release, which is the same thing as the Koei Tecmo it's the same thing in my mind. Like there was a leak from a financial presentation that this is a thing. It's a thing, people. But IGN was out here reporting that, it's been confirmed by Koei Tecmo financial presentation. No, it's confirmed last year. Also, there was a trademark filed by by Sega rather, for Persona 5 Strikers, which is totally on brand for Atlas because they always westernize the title. It's not Persona 5 The Royal or Persona 5 The Golden. It's Persona 5 Royal, Persona 5 Golden. It's not Persona... what was it? It's like Persona 4... The Persona 4 Arena games were so ridiculous. It was like Persona 4 Ultimate Arena Ultramax Ultra Plus something. It was this ridiculous name, and they shortened it. In the Western release, they brought it down to just one word. So it's not uncommon for Atlas to change the name of the game for the Western release. So Persona 5 Strikers was the trademark that's filed. And not only is it a trademark, you also see not only is it just like the trademark verbiage, you see I tweeted it, but you see the logo of the game. It's a thing.
Yeah. It's
Like
not just a word. It has a design.
Right. This is a thing. We've known about it now for almost a year now, but IGN's over here pretending like this is something we just found out.
Huge good news, everyone.
Good news. So Persona 5 Scramble, if that comes out this year, will be a must-play game as well.
Yeah.
What are your must-play games? Let us know. Get at us on Twitter at CDRMagnus, at John Kamenko. We will discuss next week if anybody submits us yours. We'll put it on air. Mark it here.
We will. We'll do it.
Unless like millions of people do it for some reason. If like,
I mean, we still could, but then
based on our normal viewership, if everybody in our normal weekly viewers does it, we will read all of them. Okay, I think that's it.
I think you're right.
Just while I have Persona on the brain, which is 80% of my life. It was announced today that the Persona 5 Mementos mission manga is being localized in the United States, or in the English.
Yeah, and they showed Akechi with a trumpet. Or some.
That was okay. So there's two things. So
there were two pieces of news.
Well, the Mementos mission manga is ending. They're putting out like the last volume of it.
Okay.
And that's what all this. There's promotional imagery. They've tweeted out one image every day for the last week. If there's like, Ren has a microphone. I think Makoto has drumsticks. But it's like they're a band basically.
Yeah.
But they're putting out this promotional image for the final issue or the final volume of the Mementos mission manga. But it was also announced today in another like leaked kind of thing that they plan to do a Western release of the manga. This is exciting because this manga is like infinitely better than the actual P5 manga. So there's the Persona 5 manga, which is just a straight retelling of the game. Then there's this Mementos mission, which is like it's Mementos missions. It's all side stuff that's not like from the actual game. It's original content. And they got Rikuro Saito, who is a mangaka. They got him to do it, and he for a long time didn't want to do like video game manga adaptions, but he broke it for this one because there's so much style in Persona 5.
Sure.
So I'm really, really excited for them to release this to the West because it's such a good. The art is just so fucking fantastic. I've been reading it basically from fan translations on all of those websites that do like manga like that. But to have it actually in a physical thing, I'm really excited for.
Yeah, for sure. There was one other quasi leak. Actually, two very small pieces of news. Very, very small. One was, I don't know why or how or what led to this happening, but like a bunch of Nintendo like beta assets.
Yeah.
From like the 64 era got leaked.
Right.
Again, I don't know what context had to happen for this to all just come out 30 years later.
Right. Where did it come from? Like, did Nintendo decide to finally stop the fax machines and like start up, but they used like some bad VPN cloud-based system or something, and then someone just like, how did this happen?
That's what I want to know, because this clearly there are assets and 3D models from Ocarina of Time and Super Mario 64.
Right. These cartridges,
these are old games.
These on physical cartridges, nonetheless. Like, these are games that have been around for 30 years on a physical piece of media. And you're telling me somehow in the year 2020, new assets have been dug out of them?
Yeah.
There had to have been like some malicious thing at Nintendo that happened. Like somebody got fired or something.
I've heard that
like
there was like some people were tweeting. They were like, "Hey, it's really cool that we're seeing all this stuff, but like the way we got it was really not great." So I don't know the context, but I'm assuming that it was some kind of less than ideal situation.
Yeah, I did not look into it other than I saw the tweets of like the Luigi model and Mario 64.
I was just more surprised that like there was new news in regards to 30-year-old games.
Yeah.
I was like, hold up.
This doesn't happen
Are you telling me that in 10 years we're going to suddenly find out that there was secretly plans for like Birdo to be in Sunshine.
Right.
Like, when does this end?
Yeah.
The other
in Halo 3, it was always intended for Master Chief to be able to fly.
Yep. The other very, very small thing, and this is 100% just me being a fanboy. I guess some little project reached completion that is a like 1 hour mini game that bridges the gap between Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. It's a fan made game that kind of just fills in those details, because there's a little bit of uncertainty whenever you finish Ocarina of Time and when Majora's Mask starts. Like, there's clearly something happened.
Sure.
But they never explicitly state it. So I guess some fans went and decided to just do it themselves.
Nice.
So I might look into finding out how to get my hands on playing that.
I'm too scared to do that kind of stuff, like modding video games or like doing anything that involves.
I'm a little nervous because it's almost 100% illegal.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe I'll find like a somebody recording it without commentary or something.
I'm sure someone. Well, maybe not. Someone. It probably won't be on Twitch. Twitch might shut it down, but you could probably find YouTube videos, I'm sure.
Yeah. One way or another, I plan on somehow consuming this content, even if it's just reading a summary. So.
Okay.
Big week for the N64.
Might be one of the only big weeks for the N64.
Yep.
Anything else you want to talk about this week?
No, I think I'm good. I do have something I would like to bring up next time, though.
Okay.
It's in regards to a Twitter poll.
Ooh, we love Twitter polls on this podcast.
Yep, it's been a while.
Okay. A bit of housekeeping here. Probably should have put this at the beginning of the show after I alluded to this earlier. But we might be changing the time of the show, hopefully permanently. We kind of danced around this at the beginning of the pandemic, being like, okay, we're at home, we might as well do it earlier. But I realized that like moving this around every week really doesn't like allow for us to build a real audience. That like this should be live. Have
consistency.
This should be live at the same time, on the same day every week, unless something like really different is going on, like the time, like if there was an Xbox press conference that was at this time, or the Game Awards, or whatever we were doing that week.
Or if it was week one of a nationwide pandemic that locked everything down and there was massive uncertainty.
I'm not saying there won't be postponements and like schedule adjustments in the future, but as much as we can, I really want to make this thing the same day every week at the same time.
Consistent.
So we might be moving this to Thursday or some other day of the week to make sure that we can do this at the same time to make it easier for all of you,
everyone,
to watch us live and get involved. With that said, if you like what you heard, you can find us live on twitch.tv/CDRMagnus. Again, I'll let you know the time next week, but it'll be probably Tuesday or Thursday around 8:30
Check
p.m.
our Twitters.
Eastern time. You can also find it on all of your favorite podcast services all across the internet, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, and more. You can also find us on YouTube, youtube.com. Type in the search bar CDR Magnus, because YouTube does not give you friendly links, let me tell you.
Unless we make it big.
Unless you make it big. Unless you have like fucking 50,000 followers or some shit, you get a shit link. You get like 50,000 characters in your link.
Yep.
So search
case sensitive with numbers and secret symbols.
Yep. So search CDR Magnus or just go to the link down on my Twitter page. You can also find us on quicktimeevent.net, which is a homepage for all of our podcasts and some other goodies every now and then. Every time I feel like writing a blog post, you might see it there. I'm on Twitter at CDR Magnus. John is on Twitter at John Kamenko. Let me know if anybody cares, if anybody's watching the video podcast, what you think about the new screens. I adjusted some of the stuff to make it look more streamlined. Cut down on the amount of fonts that were involved, because I think before this one there were at least 3 or 4 different fonts that were on this scene that we're using, and
So
to
you were
make
doing the Animal Crossing,
no, the Pokemon Snap.
Pokemon. Yeah, the Pokemon Snap.
Yes,
800 different little background layers.
right. So I cleaned up the scene a little bit, made it a little bit more less cluttered, I guess. Let me know how you like it.
Easy on the eyes.
Okay, I think that's it.
Alrighty.
Thank you for tuning in. Join us next week for episode 110. But until then, thank you for joining.
We're gonna have to have a special Halo podcast soon, aren't we?
A special. Ooh. Gotta think about
We're getting
that.
there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Okay.
I don't suppose that'll line up. Maybe it'll line up with when Infinite's coming out.
7 weeks.
We'll see.
Right?
They just said, I think they said holiday 2020, so probably not.
Well, no, I mean from right now. I guess it would be 8 podcasts from now, right? Because we got to do
so
10 and then 7.
So probably mid-September.
Yeah.
Which,
No chance.
I mean, I don't think that's happening, but like, I feel like a lot of Halo games did release in September back in the day. I know Reach did, because Reach came out, I think, on my birthday. And I was like, oh, sweet. Halo for my birthday. Nice.
I guess that's a debate on whether or not the game is going to launch day and date with the Xbox Series X, or if it's just going to be an Xbox Series X launch title, but it's going to come out before then.
Sure. We'll see.
Have a good one.
Peace out.
Bye. Actually, wait. Now, bye.
Huh?
No, I was going to say I tweeted something earlier in the week and then it ended up being wrong. And I don't think I ever retweeted something to confirm that.
Now I gotta know.
It was rumored earlier in the week. You mentioned Halo, and then I thought about it. It was rumored earlier in the week that Halo Infinite was not going to ship with multiplayer at launch.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
And it was kind of like picked up by a few of the bigger leakers as being like somewhat legitimate. But then I don't know if it was Aaron Green, someone from it was either 343 or Microsoft came out and said, no, that's not the case. It's coming out day and date with the game.
Yeah.
So I don't think I actually ever went and corrected that. I just retweeted the original one. But then I think that I retweeted. It wasn't Wario, but it might have been Nibel or somebody else. One of the other big leakers. But they deleted the tweet, so it's not there anymore.
Okay.
I'm sorry for delaying you. If you were trying to listen in for some intelligent nugget of information, you got that. So you're welcome.
The record has been set straight, so we're all good.
Yeah. We will see you next week.
Goodbye.